The ground has shifted.
Mifugo imeathirika, kukosa chakula.
The world is racing towards a fragile balance between humanity and the planet, if not living it.
Ng'ombe anakosa manyasi, anakufa yote.
Tunapitia shida ya chakula kwa sababu kwetu hakuna mvua.
As the effect of the unyielding force of climate change reverberate across continents.
Kwa wakati huu naona kama samaki wamepungua.
Unfortunately, the planet that provides basic needs to humans is increasingly reaching its tipping point.
Confronted by the challenges of climate shocks, floods and droughts, communities are weaving compelling narratives. After all, they are navigating a new era where life is nothing but besieged.
Community engagement and involvement and participation is very key to make sure we achieve the best out of this climate change mitigation and adaptation.
The coastal regions of Kenya are not spared. They have become entangled in this global struggle.
Tulikuwa tunategemea mvua, mpaka mvua inyeshe ndio nipande, kama ni Kenya nitapanda, napanda kila kitu. Sasa zingine unaweza pata, sasa zingine unabahatisha.
In Kilifi County, the vibrancy of coral reefs and the serenity of pristine beaches are under siege. They are bearing the impact of rising temperatures. The unpredictable weather patterns are casting a detrimental effect on the once thriving fishing communities.
Issues of reduced harvest in agriculture, we have emerging diseases in health, we have depletion of forests, both mangroves and hinterlands, in forestry and environment. And these, amongst many, are issues that come as a result of climate change.
The ocean has receded back, like maybe with 500 meters, more than 500 meters.
Scientists attribute the root cause of this global crisis squarely to human activities. The continuous burning of fossil fuels, deforestation, industrial emissions, and unsustainable agricultural practices have been identified as primary sources of rising greenhouse gas concentrations.
One key area where climate change is having a negative impact at the coastal region is that sea water is rising its level.
Africa contributes less than 4% of global greenhouse gas emissions. However, data indicates that climate change could lead to annual GDP losses ranging from 2% to 12% by 2050. This will potentially push millions more into poverty. With the escalating impact of climate change in Tana River County, recent floods have left a dark imprints, lost lives, and thousands of displaced locals. All bear witness to a deadly aftermath.
Imetuleta hapa ni mafuriko, nyumba zetu zilibebwa na maji. Tulipofika hapa hatuna makao, hatuna nyumba. Tangu tufike hapa hata maji ni shida kupata.
On its part, Taita Taveta County is confronting a climate change crisis, with its environment and communities feeling the heat.
Most of our water sources have dried up. Crops are drying up before even harvesting. The other issue is that because of climate change, there is livestock.
Change for numerous species, pushing them to the brink. Biodiversity, a crucial component of the system, is already showing signs of strain. This poses a threat to the local wildlife.
The only Miombo woodland we have in Kenya is in Arabuko, Sokoke, and Dakaja Hood. Trees are dying. Full mature because the root levels now cannot access fresh water, and possibly because of sea level rise, the underground aquifers, those trees are now taking in salt water.
As climate change rapidly advances, outpacing our mitigation efforts, communities are now grappling with the feisty nature of their surroundings. Kilifi County has proactively addressed the impact of climate change by incorporating stringent legislative policies, into its climate action plan.
The objective of this act is to mainstream climate change issues in all sectors of departments within Kilifi.
Simultaneously, communities emerge as pivotal actors in climate action, positioned on the forefront to not only witness the effects of climate change, but also to actively implement and contribute to solutions.
And the community is very instrumental because they're the people who will accept this project, they're the people who will validate and agree that this is really true, that as a community we are facing this, and we have agreed that we need to adapt by choosing to subscribe to this strategy.
The pursuit of climate action is a road lined with formidable challenges and obstacles that come with many faces.
It was a requirement for the local grants for each and every county to allocate more than 2.5% of the total budget.
Government, local communities, civil society, private sector, all have to work together to combat climate change. Otherwise, humanity is in danger.
As the world's population continues to increase, the planet continues to encounter unprecedented pressures. This will impact how we live and work. The urgent call to safeguard our planet is not just a plea for change, but a collective responsibility shared by all. If we look after the land, it will look after us. But if we destroy it, well, it will definitely destroy us. And it is, but the time to act is now. Levis Msumba, KTN News.
A very good evening to you and welcome to this Climate Action Town Hall live from the Pwani University in Kilifi Town, Kilifi County, the headquarters of Kilifi County. My name is Eric Latif. We're going to have an interesting conversation this evening. When you talk about climate action and what you've just seen from that story, what's happening in the communities, and especially when you come to the counties of the coast region. These are counties like Kilifi, where we are today, counties like Kwale, Mombasa, Lamu, Tana River, and Taita Taveta, the 6 counties that make up the coast region. What's happening here when it comes to climate action, what the community is saying, what the leadership saying, and we'll be talking to them this evening. I want to welcome my panelists because we'll be having a conversation with the panel. And first on my right is Gladys Njama, no, not Gladys, but Lucy Atieno. Lucy is a researcher on climate adaptation. She's from the academic side, and she'll be here this evening. Just say good evening and wave at the people.
Good evening, everyone.
Next to Lucy is our host this evening, the Governor of Kilifi County, and this is the Honorable Gideon Mungaro, who's also the chair of the Jumuiya ya Counties of Pwani. He's here. Thank you very much for welcoming us. You can say good evening to everybody else who's watching.
Good evening, everybody, and I want to invite all of you to Kilifi County. The climate change is real. You can feel it, isn't it? My handkerchief is already wet. Thank you very much. Karibuni sana Kilifi.
Asante sana. Granton Mwandawiro is CECM for Environment. That's the County Executive Committee member for Environment from Taita Taveta County. Thank you for coming here, Granton.
Thank you. Good evening, all of you.
And we also have Philip Kilonzo, who's the head policy advocacy and communications at PACJA. PACJA is the Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance. Welcome, Philip.
Good evening, all, and thanks to be here.
And from the Jumuiya ya Counties of Pwani, and this is the one that brings together the 6 counties of coast as an economic bloc, looking together as a common areas that affect the coast region. Gladys Njama is the Director for Partnerships and Investment. Gladys, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Asante.
And where we are is at the Pwani University. We have an audience with us. The audience is right here. We'll be engaging with them, hearing from them. Well, of course, we have representation from the university itself, Pwani University, and community leaders and people from the community. They will be engaging with my colleague, Suleiman Yeri. Suleiman, salimia watu.
Asante sana Eric Latif, kama ulivyosema kwa ufasaha kabisa kwa lugha ya Kiingereza hiyo ama ya Kimombo, ni kwamba hapa ni nao ambao ni delegates wetu. Tutakuwa tukisikia maoni yao, kusikia wana yepi ya kuuliza, wana yepi ya kuchangia katika mjadala huu. Maana sasa hivi tutakuwa tukizungumzia zile sera ambazo zinawekwa na kaunti mbalimbali. Je, hizi sera zimekuwa zikifua dafu? Na je, wale ambao ni viongozi wanaosimamia kaunti hizi wanadhani ni yapi ambao yanaweza kutekelezwa? Haya tutakuwa tukiasikia kutoka kwa hawa wote ambao wako hapa nyuma yangu, Eric Latif.
Asante sana. Sasa tuanze nao watu ambao wako nyuma yako na pembeni mwako. Let's hear from some of them. Are you feeling like the counties of the coast region, any of the counties, are actually understanding the issues that you're facing as a communities on climate change and coming up with adaptation measures? And are you satisfied with what the government is doing?
Naam, asante. Wacha nianze na daktari ambaye ni mhadhiri hapa katika chuo cha Pwani. Naomba usimame ili uweze kutueleza lile swali ambalo limeulizwa na Eric Latif.
Asante sana. Kwa majina naitwa Daktari Tunje. Mimi ni mhadhiri hapa Pwani katika kitivo cha mazingira. Kusema kweli, swala la climate change ni swala ambalo linaathiri kila binadamu, linaathiri kila kiumbe. Na sisi kama binadamu, naona kila mmoja wetu anayo njia ambayo huwa ana contribute, anachangia katika swala hili. Na kwa sababu kila mmoja anachangia kwa njia moja au njia nyingine, na kila mmoja wetu anaathirika kwa njia moja au njia nyingine, ni vema hii elimu ya climate change uweze kufikia kila mmoja katika kaunti hii. Elimu hii inapofikia kila mmoja atakuwa na nafasi ya kujua atachangia namna gani katika kupunguza zile athari za climate change na global warming. Nafurahi kwa hapa, governor yuko hapa, county yuko hapa, na mimi tutaweza kuambiwa vizuri sana.
Asante daktari. Wacha nikukumbushe swali daktari. Daktari, nikukumbushe swali. Do you feel like the governments of the coast region are doing enough to address issues of climate change, to come up with programs that are engaging communities to address climate change and to help them adapt?
In my view, I think the counties have not done enough. And this is because people at the grassroots level actually hawajafikiwa na hii mikakati. Wacha niseme hivyo. So I think much needs to be done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Eric, kuna mwingine?
Naam, nisikie kauli kutoka kwa baadhi ya vijana. Unahisi vipi? What are you feeling? Stand up, Kali. In a minute.
Okay, thank you for this platform. My name is John Wenaina. I'm a student at Pwani University. And I think as students, I think for the government, they have not done enough. But they are trying to engage the community through the partnership with non-governmental organizations such as Red Cross and also the other green organizations that are participating in planting mangrove trees at the oceans. Since the mangrove trees are the ones that are beneficial for the carbon sequestration. Also, I believe as students, we have a intellectual social responsibility to educate people on what is climate change. As student of environmental studies, for example, we have that responsibility to educate people. Also, the youth, we have responsibility to educate the community members. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Indeed, umewasikia Eric Latif kwamba kuna mengi ambayo yanafaa kuzungumzwa. Wanafunzi pia wanahisi wanataka kujumuishwa. Kwako.
Kabisa, asante sana Sulemanieri. And yes, we've heard from the audience already, Governor. There's always a disconnect between what government is doing. I'm sure there are many programs that the governments in these 6 counties have come up with. But what is it that the people do not feel? Or is it that there is a lack of understanding of what these programs actually mean? And let's just start with, what have the counties been doing? Just in a brief, starting with your own county of Kilifi.
Asante, Eric. First of all, let me say that as a county, the actions we have been taking, I think we have just, the last months we have been forming grassroots committees at the sub-county level going up, involving youth, women, people living with disability. The actions we have been taking came up with, when I took office, we had an act of the Kilifi County government, the Kilifi County Climate Act, which was giving 0.5% of its budget to climate actions. The first thing I did, because for me this climate action is part of my manifesto's agenda, I did an amendment of the Act, the Kilifi County Government Act Amendment 2023. And now we have allocated the total budget of Kilifi County, 2% will go to climate action. We have already started doing interventions. We have our teams, the CCs here and the director, you have seen the chief officer talking. We have formed committees at the grassroots level. We are partnering with other partners like FLOCA, the project of FLOCA, which is the focal of local climate action, FLOCA through the World Bank. And we have already received the first 11 million to start the committees. We have matched the same amount from the county so that we can do interventions and forming the committees at the grassroots level so that we involve the community directly on the issues we are facing of climate change.
We'll get into greater details on that as the conversation progresses. Let's hear from Taita Taveta, Wandawiro, CECM Environment. What is Taita Taveta doing?
Thank you, Latif, for that. Over and above what the governor has said, as Taita Taveta County, through the leadership of the governor, Andrew Mwadime, we already have an act in place. We have the regulations in place. PCRA exercise was done. And this is a participatory climate risk assessment throughout all the wards. And that has taken place, I think, in all the 6 counties in coast. I speak because I'm the chair of the sector when it comes to natural resources for the CECs. So a PCRA exercise has been done in all the wards where the ward committee or the ward members identified the risks that they are facing. From there, an action plan for climate change has been enacted. Or they have, each and every county, I think apart from Mombasa, has a climate change action plan. From there, the committees, which are at the ward level, at the lowest level, with a chairperson who is a resident of the ward, are moving around the wards, meeting with villages, trying to come up with activities that can be done within the ward. And these are activities that are locally led. What they think they can do with the CCRI grants that are coming. So we encourage people within the communities to get to know within their ward who is the chair of the climate change committee so that they can go and raise their concerns and feel and give feedback and input on what they feel should be done when the CCRI grants arrive at the counties.
Thank you, Waziri. Thank you. Gladys, I want to come to you as sitting at the Jumuiya County of Pwani, which is bringing together all these 6 counties. You've heard from the 2. Are the other 4 doing the same?
Yes, I believe that there's quite a number of actions that are taking place in all the 6 coastal counties. And the beauty is that each county is unique, but each of us are facing the same challenges. So if I start, for example, with Tana River, that we know is facing drought, issues. You find that they're working very hard to develop village cluster programs, which is to move the citizens from the areas that are prone to floods, prone to drought, to areas in which they can set up these management systems that can supply the basic things that they need in a good manner. And I know that the governor has been working quite hard to ensure that those things are working for the community.
Thank you. Philip, we're hearing. So counties have things that they're doing, you know, they have plans, there's budgetary allocation, there's amendment of the necessary law so that the money is then allocated adequately, but not yet started, like programmatic on the ground. Is it a good start? Is it too slow? Is it moving at a good speed in terms of what the counties are doing so far?
Well, that's a difficult question, Latif. It's a question of assessment. And it's a question of also assigning some subjective interpretation.
Yep.
But let me say that, well, the counties have made some progress, particularly in terms of developing policy frameworks, developing some kind of acts. Of course, they've been quite slow in terms of ensuring that there is sufficient institutional mechanism for the implementation. But the biggest challenge is not there. The biggest challenge is in fully internalizing the import of climate change. Climate change affects the 16 Sustainable Development Goals. And therefore, where you position climate change in your policy discourse and in your response measures determines your effectiveness in terms of changes and impact that you do realize. When I scan through across all the counties, that cross-sectoral approach, that transformative approach to addressing the challenge of climate change still remains apparently there, because it's still being conceptualized within the strict confines of what is being done within the Ministry of Environment and its appendages down there, as opposed to having a broad-based cross-sectoral approach and beginning to mount quite a broad-based policy framework that can address that. When I look at counties like Jumuiya ya Pwani, who have actually come together, they are yet to punch above their weight in terms of really being able to take climate mandate to the next level and being able to look at their collectivity and their collective power in terms of driving the kind of change that they want to see. Yes, it's good to see allocation 2% from the county, but we must bring the climate justice imperative to the conversation. Who caused the crisis and who should bear the costs? That is still something that is hanging out there. Thanks.
Yeah, I know that's what PACTA usually pushes for. I mean, it's saying who got us where we are today and what should we do about them. I want to come then to you, Lucy. There's what we've heard. When we talk about climate change and the effects to the communities, the vulnerable, the marginalized are hardest hit. Now, what is it that should happen to, at the, this policy level, to make sure that it translates into direct benefit and direct tangible benefit to these marginalized communities?
Yeah, thank you so much, Eric, for your question. On climate issues, it's open knowledge that there are marginalized communities which are hardest hit, but there is a gap for them to be involved in climate processes or climate action, because mostly you find like adaptation will focus on involving these people as those who are really affected, vulnerable people, overlooking at what knowledge contributions they can have to adaptation processes, overlooking what decision contributions they can have to the adaptation processes. So I think for leadership, for policy, they need to look at engagements of those affected by climate issues beyond them being vulnerable or helpless, needy victims, to also acknowledging the capacities that they bring on board to these processes.
Well, thank you very much. When we talk about climate, we've been having conversations for a long time, at the international level, the COP conversations. Last year we had the African Climate Summit, which is still another talk shop. Today we're having another talk shop here. It's just been talk. Coming up to 11 years of devolution, and we're hearing the county governments are still, trying to put in the structures and seeing how those structures can then benefit communities. What do we need to do to stop or to move from setting up the structures to actually making sure that then communities are benefiting from this? That's a conversation we'll be having shortly. But first, let's take a break. You're watching KTN News. This is Climate Action, a town hall from Kilifi County. We are live at the Pwani University. We'll be back shortly.